Ladies and gentlemen, let us all rise for the arrival of the Honorable Senate President and the Senators of the Republic of the Philippines.
The 24th session of the Senate and the first regular session of the 18th Congress is hereby called to order. Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri will lead the chamber in prayer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let us all come together in prayer to seek guidance from the wise and benevolent Lord, that He may steer us towards the right path as our people's appointed servant leaders. As Jesus humbled Himself to His disciples and washed their feet with no qualms, may we also submit ourselves fully to the Filipino people who are true masters. As the Holy Father sacrificed His only Son for the redemption of humankind, may we also be prepared to set ourselves aside for the service of the greater good. As the Virgin Mary offered herself to be a vessel for the Lord, may we also allow ourselves to be vessels of goodness and truth. We pray that the good Lord grant us the wisdom and understanding to know what true leadership is and the strength and conviction to accomplish it. We pray as well that the eternal rest granted to the soul of the great Senator Rene Espina. His legacy of leadership and service is a constant reminder of what we must strive towards. Guide us always, O Lord, as humble servants of this great nation. Amen.
Amen. The Secretary will please call the roll.
Roll call of members, the Honorable Senators Angara, Binay, Cayetano, De Lima, De La Rosa, Drilon, Gatchalian, Go, Gordon, Ontiveros, Lacson, Lapid, Marcos, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Pimentel, Poe, Rector, Revilla, Tolentino, Villanueva, Villar, Zubiri, Senate President Soto III.
With 19 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum.
Regalo na lang.
Majority Leader.
Regalo na lang. Yes, regalo na lang. Tama, tama. Mr. President. Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, we have several guests in the gallery today. Most importantly, we have an honorable senator from Guam, no other than Senator James Moylan is here with us today. And we also have with us, accompanied by Mr. Bobby Schwingy. And we have several local officials. We have Mayor Josefina Matugas Coro of Del Carmen is here, together with Mayor Relhel Meneses of Bulacan, as well as Mayor Noel Luistro of Mabini, Batangas, and Mayor Raymond Tongson of Himamaylan City. We have also with us Mayor Ronald Apostol, Liga ng Barangay ng Cabangan, Zambales is here with us as well. We have also guests from North Cotabato. Board members Ivy Dalumpines Balitok. Board member Kelly Antao and Councilor Elinito Cuzon, as well as Mayor Cheche Uy of Impasugong Bukidnon is here. My mayor. Where's my mayor? And we have also with us Mayor Angel Sia of La Paz Leyte, Mayor Rodessa Delante Revita of Caibiran Biliran. And as well as Mayor Danny Martinez of Kiamba, Sarangani, together with their municipal health officers. And yes, I mentioned this fellow. And we also have the Paralegal Training Program Alumni Association Inc. of the UP Law Center, Mr. President, here with us today.
All right, we welcome our counterpart from Guam, and we also welcome all the law government officials that are visiting the Senate today as our guests. Thank you.
I know we also have schools with us, so we're waiting for the list of the names of the schools so that we can also recognize the schools that they represent. Mr. President, I move that we suspend, or dispense rather, with the reading of the journal of the 23rd session, Tuesday, September 17, and consider the same as approved.
You're moving for the dispensation.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that we dispense with
Of
the
the
reading
reading.
of the journal.
Any objection? Hearing none, the journal is approved.
Mr. President, I move for the reference of business. To proceed with the
Secretary will
reference.
proceed with the reference of business.
Reference of business, bills on first reading. Senate Number 1056, entitled An Act Providing for a Comprehensive and Responsive Civil Registration and Vital Statistics System, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, introduced by Senator Ontiveros.
Referred to the Committees on Health and Demography and Finance.
Senate Number 1057, an act institutionalizing the community-driven development approach as a national strategy for inclusive growth and social protection, mandating all national government agencies and departments, including their attached agencies, offices and bureaus, local government units, and other government instrumentalities, to implement their community-based programs, activities, and projects, appropriating funds therefore, introduced by Senator Ontiveros.
Referred to the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development, Local Government, and Finance.
Senate Number 1058, entitled An Act Regulating the Practice of Microbiology in the Philippines and for Other Purposes, introduced by Senator Zubiri.
Referred to the Committees on Civil Service, Science and Technology, and Finance.
Senate Number 1059, an act recognizing the civil effects of church-decreed annulment, introduced by Senator Zubiri.
Referred to the Committee on Women.
Senate Number 1060, entitled An Act Establishing the Jose B. Lingad Memorial Regional Hospital Satellite Emergency and Trauma Center, to be known as the Joaquin Villanueva Emergency Trauma Center, introduced by Senator Angara.
Referred to the Committees on Health and Finance. Majority Leader.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we were supposed to tackle a measure of Senator Gordon, our bill actually, Mr. President, today. Unfortunately, Senator Gordon is not feeling very well, and therefore he asked to move it to Monday. So today's agenda, we have only the bill postponing the May 2020 barangay elections, Mr. President. Therefore, I move that we resume consideration on Senate Bill number 1043, as reported out under Committee Report number 4. I so move.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration is in order.
Mr. President, the parliamentary status of the measures were in the period of interpellation. May we recognize the sponsor, the distinguished lady senator from Ilocos Norte, Senator Amy Marcos. And to interpellate, we have Senator Bongo.
Senator Amy Marcos is recognized, and to interpolate Senator Bongo.
Thank you.
Ikaw next. May we ask for a 1 minute suspension, Mr. President, so that allow Senator Go to prepare.
Session suspended.
Yeah, okay lang.
Ready to resume, Mr. President?
Parang alam mo,
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
parang alam mo isususpend ah.
Wala, ano pa pala. Ano wala pa, di ba?
Session resumed. Senator Marcos and Senator Go are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Para?
Yes, go ahead. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, first of all, I would like to reiterate my support for Senate Bill 1043, specifically as regards to the postponement of the upcoming barangay and SK elections to a date following the next presidential elections. I would want to place before the consideration of this honorable body the second Monday of October 2022 as the date for the next barangay and SK elections. As I have said yesterday before this honorable chamber, the interval would grant the next elected president and the barangay officials the opportunity to work hand in hand and accomplish their projects and programs together. When President Duterte was elected in 2016, he was determined to eradicate illegal drugs in the country, yet the dilemma during that time was that more than 200 barangay officials were linked to illegal drugs, according to PIDEA. It took 2 more years for the people to elect new barangay officials that can help the administration deliver reforms in their communities. If we move the next barangay elections following or immediately after the national elections in 2022, we would then have a new set of leaders from the barangay all the way to the national level. The next administration can buckle down and set a direction. The shorter gap between the two elections would mean a shorter waiting time for them to be able to work collectively and in effect align their agenda, direction, objectives, and programs sooner, ultimately for the benefit of the people who placed them in office. Mr. President, if we have to wait a year after the presidential elections to elect new barangay officials, baka mainip ang new president at mahirapan na siguraduhin maramdaman sa mga barangay ang pagbabagong gusto niyang i-implementa. With respect to COMELEC, trabaho naman nila ito. I see no reason for COMELEC to defer the elections a year after the presidential elections because they have done this before and it has been proven possible to conduct both elections in the same year. Pursuant to this manifestation, Mr. President, I would like to solicit some answers if the distinguished lady from Ilocos Norte would yield to some questions.
Gladly, Mr. President.
Mr. President, this representation would like to seek clarification as to why the date May 2023 was chosen. Did the COMELEC give a favorable position as regards to this date?
Yes, Mr. President, as previously discussed with distinguished co-author, Senator Go, their lack of material time has been an essential complaint of the COMELEC. Alam po ninyo, talagang dinanas na po ito ng ating bansa noong 2010 at talagang labis-labis yung problema nung nagkasunod yung national election, pagkatapos nun yung barangay within the same year. At that point in time, 48 million pa lang ang botante, kung maaalala po ninyo. Subalit noong 2010, kung maaalala ninyo, 2,512 ang barangay na failure of election, hindi nakaboto, 6,496 clustered precincts, at ang total ng ating mga botante na hindi binagyan ng kanilang karapatan bumoto halos 2 milyon. Dahil gahol sa panahon, hindi nakapag-imprenta ng balotang maayos na verified, hindi nakapag-distribute sa kasamaan ng panahon, at talaga naman yung manual at hybrid ay kakaiba. Yung mga SK noon, gipit na gipit rin sa registration, kung maaalala ninyo, dahil sa problema. And eto nga, ang pagkakausap ko sa ating COMELEC, willing naman sila, sapagkat good soldiers sila, na paagahin. So nag-workout kami ng bagong table of events na mag-uumpisa halimbawa October 2021 or thereabouts, para hindi naman maalintala yung national election. At which, ang inabutan namin talaga, hindi talaga pwede yung printing na 4 to 5 months, yung verification, yung packaging, delivery, at saka verification na naman ng distributed balota sa mga local treasurers earlier than December 2022. Kapag December, nakaapak na tayo ng 6.5 months na pagitan. And yun ang pinaka-compressed na time frame na pinag-usapan namin. Pero kaya. Pero yung October po, gahol sa panahon, masama pati yung weather at yung printing and verification, baka magkaloko-loko yung listahan ng mga kandidato.
Mr. President, did the COMELEC have a difficult time holding both the national and barangay elections in the same year of 2010? I think kinaya naman po nila nung 2010. Ang akin lang po rito, maring mainip na po yung bagong administrasyon o kung sino man po yung bagong presidente at ibang direksyon naman po ang gusto niyang gawin. Katulad po ng nangyari kay Pangulong Duterte noong 2016. Ang dami pong mga barangay captains na involved sa drugs at inip na po si Pangulo na mapalitan yung mga bagong opisyal. So ito naman, to give the opportunity or the chance to the new administration or to the new president po pagdating ng 2022. Kung kaya naman po ng COMELEC.
With all due respect po, yung kahuli-hulihang panahon na same year, yung ating barangay at yung national, yung 2010, na talaga sinasabi ng COMELEC, bulilyaso nga talaga. At hirap sila, marami pang ang hindi nakaboto, kawawa naman. Pagkatapos nun, yung next election natin was already 2013. Na yung 2013, wala pa nga yung SK. Walang problema nun. Higit sa lahat, dahil hiniwala yung 2018 na eleksyon sa national, maayos. Zero yung failure of elections unlike 2010.
Mr. President, I would like to thank the distinguished lady from Ilocos Norte for providing clarifications as regards to my query. Again, I would like to manifest, as indicated in my bill, that the barangay and SK elections be moved to the second Monday of October 2022, or 5 months after the presidential elections. It may be difficult for COMELEC, but I am of the opinion that they have ample time to prepare. This most certainly is possible. That is my proposal, Mr. President, and I hope the good sponsor would give weight to my suggestion. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to my co-author and sponsor. As we discussed earlier, I'm very happy to change the date. It's the lack of material time that the COMELEC is protesting.
Senator Tolentino is asking for the
The
floor.
good gentle lady, my co-sponsor, would yield to some questions.
Yes,
Just
thank you
some
very much.
clarificatory questions. If we postpone the elections, which I support, to a latter date, which is 2023, in effect, the barangay officials, specifically the barangay chairman, would sit for 5 years. Am I correct?
The next election, as we see
you
it,
propose,
as we propose, should be 1 year after the national election, 2023, thereafter 2026. 3 years pa.
So in
Ang
effect,
tuloy-tuloy.
it's plus 3 years. So they will
In
have
effect, they will have 2018 to 2023.
so that will be 5 years.
5 years.
5 years. Mr. President, the purpose of the line of my reasoning has reference to the ex officio city
Federation.
councilors,
Yeah.
board members, municipal councilors, SK Federation presidents who will sit as ex officio board members, councilors, etc. Would the good gentle lady agree with me that the law provides that a councilor board member, a regular councilor board member, should sit for 3 years?
That's correct. That's what the law says.
So with the postponement of the barangay elections, what would now happen to the sitting ABC presidents who are now city councilors, municipal councilors, and provincial board members, and SK Federation presidents who are likewise city councilors and provincial board members?
As of today, I think the precedent stands that the ex officio representatives held their post from 2013 to 2018. So in terms of a preceding occurrence, may nangyari na niyan. At na-extend nga sila ng 5 years.
So what this would entail, Mr. President, is that we are now tolerating the extension of terms, presumably in violation of existing laws, wherein we are placing more the city councilors, ex officio city councilors, are placed in a better position than regularly elected councilors. Am I correct?
I think, as discussed during the hearings and as proposed by the Minority Leader, Senator Drilon, the ex officio representatives will be carrying on in their holdover capacity in accordance with law.
So again, Mr. President, my presumption here is that we extended the terms of office of the barangay officials, and at the same time, impliedly, we are extending the terms of office of the ex officio officers at the same time, which probably might conflict with existing laws which provide for a regular term of just 3 years. That's my only concern, Mr. President. So my suggestion, perhaps during the amendment period, is that another round of election be held for federation presidents to comprise a new set of ABC presidents to sit as board members, municipal councilors, and city councilors, to give the extended barangay officials a fresh chance and to elect a new ex officio officers with a fresh mandate.
Well
Will the
taken.
gentle lady accept that, perhaps in the
Well
period
taken,
of
Mr. President. I think the ABC and the SK can submit themselves to a fresh mandate upon the assumption of office of the new officials. And perhaps within the leagues and the federations, they can organize the second round for their ex officio representative. Well taken po, and magandang suggestion po mula kay Senator Tolentino.
One last point, Mr. President. I also foresee some circumstances wherein an extended SK president will be sitting as an ex officio beyond the age limit.
Asigurado po yun. Dahil
So,
yung iba sagad-sagad na sa pag-upo eh.
Are we now tolerating again another violation of existing laws? Or should there be a proviso wherein underage would mean those who will not be overage by 2023 or whatever date is selected by this body, be the one to assume by an implied law of succession, so to speak, Mr. President. Baka po
I think the prevailing rule that in fact the age at the date of the election will persist at kung talagang nasa edad pa naman yung SK, pasok pa rin siya. Pagkatapos nun, hold over na po, kaya't nasa federasyon na lang at sa liga kung ibig nila, paltan na naman yung kanilang kinatawan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Marcos.
Maraming salamat, Senator Tolentino, for the valuable insight and experience.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, our distinguished minority floor leader would like to ask a few questions.
The Minority Leader, Senator Frank Drilon, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the good sponsor yield the floor to a few clarificatory questions?
Yes, thank you very much. Gladly, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I think the common consensus among the members of the chamber is that there should be a postponement of the election, of the barangay election. The only debate is when it should be held. Is that a correct assumption, Madam Sponsor?
I think we're in full agreement with the minority leader in reading the temper of the chamber.
Yes, and the point, I'll take off from the point of Senator Tolentino, from where he left. He was raising the issue of the ex-officio members of the different local legislative bodies holding a term longer than that
Longer than
of
3
the
years.
regularly elected members. Precisely the stand of Senators Go and Senator Binay under Senate Bill number 201 and Senate Bill 869, which proposes that the election be held on October 2022, will avoid this problem, because by that time, if we have an election, those elected for the Sangguniang Barangay and the SK election, and then the subsequent election in the Federation, will precisely avoid this problem that Senator Tolentino has brought up, and therefore the term of office will limit with 3 years, and subsequent elections will be already more or less synchronized. Would you agree with that?
Mr. President and our good minority leader, I'm afraid that if we tally the term of office from 2018, which is when they were elected, and we extend it to 2022, they will still be in excess by 1 year of the stipulated 3 years for other local candidates. So making it earlier in 2022, we still do not avoid the issue of an extension of term. Magiging 4 years po sila, lampas pa rin ng 3 taon na itinakda ng batas.
Lalo na po kung in-extend mo pa beyond October 2022, lalo pong lalagpas dun sa 3 taon. It becomes worse.
That's right.
yes.
Which is why po, upon our urging, tinanong ko yung COMELEC, magtapatan po tayo, sabi nyo, good soldiers kayo, ano ba talaga ang pinakamaaga? At sabi nila, kaya naman daw, pag bandang December 1st or 2nd week ng 2022, para hindi na mahabaan ng labis.
Well, Mr. President, now that we are on that issue, let me refer the good sponsor to the hearings conducted by the Committee on Electoral Reforms and, I'm sorry, the Committee on Finance on September 16, 2019. Oh, I'm sorry. And then, huh? Yeah. 2000.
September 16 po, 2019.
20
Although I wasn't able to attend po.
Yes. Where you said they can do it? Saan yun? Okay. Hindi. I was present. I couldn't at this stage exactly recall when it was, but during the budget hearing of the Commission on Election, upon my questioning, the COMELEC admitted that they could hold the election within 2022. Huh? Huh?
They can hold it on 2020. They are ready to hold it on 2022.
1 minute suspension. I'm confused.
Session suspended.
Ito po, ang sinabi nila dito eh.
Saan ba yung transcript na mako-compromise?
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session resumed.
The principal reason, Mr. President, why the good committee of Senator Marcos has proposed May of 2023 is because of the opinion of the COMELEC that they would prefer having a 1-year gap between the two elections. Is that correct?
That's correct, thank you.
Now, however, on September 16, 2019, the opinion of the executive director of COMELEC, Mr. Tolentino, is that, to use his words, regarding the holding of the election earlier than May of 2023, is that the gap is too short. But they said, as quoted also by the good sponsor, the COMELEC said, mahihirapan kami, but it doesn't mean that we cannot do it. So they can do it, having the election with less than 1 year of a gap.
Kung magagawa raw po kasi good soldiers sila. Pero makikita po natin na medyo mahirap dahil takot sila maulit yung nangyari sa 2010 na napakaraming failure of election, umabot sa halos 2 milyon ang hindi nakaboto.
All right, so from the earlier answers of the good sponsor, C is amenable to an amendment which will hold the election in December of 2022. Is that a correct understanding, Mr. President?
Yes, that is correct, Minority Leader and Mr. President, because I too am not very keen to keep extending these terms forever.
So, at the appropriate time, the committee will propose as a committee amendment that the elections will be held on December 2022.
Thank you very much, Minority Leader.
All right. Now, let's go to the budget aspect of this. In the present National Expenditure Program, there is an item in the COMELEC budget for Sangguniang, Kabataan, and Barangay election. And in the National Expenditure Program, the COMELEC has a budget of 5,774,958,000 pesos. If we move the election to December of 2022, it means that we can reduce the budget of the COMELEC by this much.
Certainly, Mr. President and Minority Leader, I think there would be no reason for the 5.8 billion election budget for barangays and SKs if we postpone them to the following year.
All right, so at least that's on record. We can reduce the budget of COMELEC by 5.774.
And if I may recommend,
yes,
Mr. President
yes.
and Senator Drilon, there are so many budgets that we are hearing that have been cut. And among them are very important programs such as the salary standardization, number 5 for government employees, including the teachers, the agrarian reform program, whose distribution should end by 2022.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Senator. Now, Likewise, now, considering that the present law would call for an election next year, would the present General Appropriations Act, to the knowledge of the good sponsor, carry items as a preparation for the next year barangay election?
As far as I understand, there are no items as yet.
No, there are no items. Are there actual appropriations in the present 2019 General Appropriations Act?
In the 2019 General Appropriations Act, there are none.
All right, that's our common belief. Let me, however, quote to you the September 16, 2019 Committee on Finance hearing of the Comedic budget.
Sinasabi silang 1 billion.
And according to Ms. Alarcon,
So what happens now?
let me quote it verbatim.
Who is Ms. Alarcon?
Director Alarcon of the Comedic. I think she's with the finance section of the Comedic, but
All right.
she's a Comedic resource person.
All right.
All right. Let me quote the pertinent transcript. Your Honor, Ms. Alarcon, Your Honor, the SKBE, or the Sangguniang Kabataan and Barangay election, has a budget of 5,744,940,000. This provides for all necessary expenses for the 63 million registered voters. It has 177,000 cluster precincts out of the 389,000 established precincts. Now, Your Honor, please, based on the current statement of allotment, obligations, and balances of the COMELEC, still has a balance of 3.7 billion in its current budget, but these are already earmarked as follows: 1 billion pesos for the preparatory activities of the SK and barangay election. So there is actually a 1 billion budget that they have allotted out of their savings of 3.7 billion.
My information, Minority Leader, is that in fact, the 1 billion is called from the savings. It was not a separate item.
Okay.
However, as you rightly cited, 1 billion was earmarked for early procurements involving the carbonless paper, ballot paper, other accountable and non-accountable forms. Not a cent has as yet been expended. I am guaranteed.
Very good, because in that case, then we can reduce further the proposed budget for 2020 of the COMEDIC by 1 billion, because there is a 1 billion earmark for an election which will not take place.
That is correct. They are already resigned to that. As I spoke to them earlier, you should be decreased by 1 billion.
1 billion more. 1 billion more than the 5.7 billion.
That's correct. A total of 6.7 po.
All right. Yes. With that understanding, Mr. President, I think this representation can terminate the interpellation, and we will just await the committee amendments in order that we can vote properly on this measure.
Do I take it, Mr. Minority Leader, that for the 2019 budget, they indeed have already a budget if elections were going to be held for this October?
From the way we understand it, the Comedic, sir, has a savings
Yes.
of 3 billion pesos, more or less. 3.7 billion.
Yes.
Out of the 3.7 billion in the current appropriations budget, they have earmarked 1 billion
For the barangay election.
for the barangay election.
This October?
No, 2020, sir, for
Yes,
next
but-
year.
But the elections were supposed to be held this October. Am I
No, no, no.
right? Am
The
I wrong?
elections,
Election-
Mr.
Next
The
President.
elections were supposed to be
Alright.
held in May of
May of next year.
All right.
next year.
And therefore, as part of their preparatory preparation, they have earmarked 1 billion out of their savings of 3.7 billion
okay, savings.
for SK and barangay elections, and another 775 billion in the national expenditure program next
For
year.
2020.
So they are talking
20,
about, and in
20.
fact, they were asking for additional 2 billion pesos for next year in their presentation. So they were looking at a possible over 8 billion, almost 9 billion pesos for the SK and the barangay election, all of which now will be available for other realignments for other worthy projects, Mr. President. And that is why it is very important that as early as we can, we pass this measure so that there is no reason anymore for the Comedic to continue with the preparatory activities geared towards the holding of the election next year,
Right.
because these preparatory activities will involve spending of public funds, which will be useless.
All right, Senator Lacson, you were seeking the floor earlier.
Thank you very much for the urgency and fulsome support from the minority.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. After hearing three interpellators, I don't think I heard one very basic question. And if the sponsor would care to yield to that one very basic question, why are we postponing?
We are postponing because we're in violation of the law. Both the local government code as well as RA 9164 indicate that barangay officials as well as SK officials should have a term of 3 years. If we carry on and have the elections earlier, we will in fact only be giving them 2 years. Less than 2 years, that is correct.
If that's the reason, are we not also violating the law by giving it that reason? There was a barangay election in May of 2018.
That is correct.
Why don't we just follow the regular term of office and hold the next election in May of 2021?
That is correct. That was the first discussion in the first hearing we had with the minority leader, that May 2021 could be the next election.
So are we violating the law if we hold the elections or the barangay election in May of 2021?
However, there were...
And are we not violating the law if we will hold the election in October or May of 2023?
Firstly, I think we will not be in violation of May 2021. However,
So let me, did I hear that clearly? There is no violation of the law if we hold it in May of 2021. So why not hold it in May 2021?
there are a number of reasons. Among
That's what I'm asking. Anong reasons?
Yes,
Why
a
are we
number of
postponing?
reasons, in fact, na unang-una, dapat mauna yung national election sapagkat ang preparasyon noon 2.5 years. Pagkatapos, yung issue rin po na talagang pinoproblema, yung procurement kasi and the bids and awards, pag nagsapaw-sapaw, magkakaroon ng problema. And thirdly, I think there are precedents, in fact, of 2013, 2018, and so on.
I don't get it, Mr. President. Are there political considerations here? Meaning, if we allow or we hold the barangay election 1 year ahead of the national and local elections, mas magastos. Kasi marami manghihinging barangay chairman. Barangay. Ganun ba yung dahilan? Just let's be practical and I will yield.
No, I think
I will submit.
in reality, the sense was that there was no desire for a proxy war on the barangay level that would presage the national election. Instead, what we preferred was there would be a new mandate for whoever the national or local officials would be, and therefore a neater, more effective governance would be instituted kung pagkatapos na ng national yung barangay at SK.
Kasi kung practical yung dahilan, papayag naman po kami eh. Kung mas magastos kumauna yung barangay election kesa sa local and national election, then let's call a spade a spade. Pero kung violation of the law, na wala naman, the difference is the same. We're violating the law anyway. So why don't we just follow the regular term of office of barangay officials and hold elections in May of 2021? Hindi na tayo nag-uusap ng mag-overlap, mag-extend, mag-overage. Wala na tayo pag-uusapan gano'n, Mr. President. Why are we complicating things?
I don't think we're complicating things. As a matter of fact, we're probably simplifying them in as much as we are all set for the hybrid election, and we'd like to prepare for that for 2022. Ito, manual po to. Another complication kasi nga, ibang-iba naman yung eleksyon ng manual kesa sa hybrid na bago at yung existing automated. So napakadaming gagawin between now and then. And at the same time, umaalma rin yung ating barangay officials kasi bitin nga yung kanilang termino.
Kung May 2021, mabibitin ng termino?
Well,
Ano po,
3 years po sila, pero yun nga, ang nais natin lahat, talagang bigyan ng fresh mandate ang sino man national at local officials na papasok. And thereafter, gawin ng regular lahat ng barangay and SK elections 1 year after the national and local. Para hindi na papalit-palit, hindi na parati na lang pinopostpone at inaamyandahan yung batas, katulad ngayon.
Yeah. May binulong pa sa akin staff ko. Ano rin pagkakaiba kung 1 year before or 1 year after?
Malaking bagay po.
Ano po yung bagay na malaki?
1 year before, as we saw in the past, it becomes a proxy war at the barangay level. Nagte-testing lahat ng national, lahat ng mayor, kung sino yung mga bata-bata nilang barangay. At least pagkatapos po, talagang mas maayos na at fresh mandate yung mga bagong administrasyon.
Anyway, I'm not convinced but I will vote in favor of that measure.
Thank you very much. Pwede na rin po, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Are you last? Monday. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we have one more interpolator, Senator Ralph Recto, but he requested if he can ask on Monday, Mr. President. So with that,
We leave it up to you.
yes, Mr. President. He's our Senate President Pro Temp. He's my boss also, so he's winking at me. So it's on Monday, Mr. President.
All
Mr.
right.
President, I move to suspend consideration of the bill of our Honorable Senator Amy Marcos, Senate Bill number 1043. I so move.
All right, but as long as you guarantee that the Senate Bill 1055 will go first before the interpellation.
Yes, Mr.
Because
President.
the interpellation of the President Pro Tem might last about 2 or 3 hours.
Yes, Mr. President. I just hope that by that time our chair, I just hope that by that time our chairman of the Committee on Justice will be doing much better.
Up and about, all
He's a
right.
bit sick.
All right, so any objection? Hearing none, consideration is suspended.
So, President, may I ask for a 1-minute Senate suspension?
1 minute, Senate minute, you mean?
1 Senate minute suspension.
Session
Before,
suspended
but
for...
before we suspend, Mr. President, we'd just like to recognize, we have students. We have students from San Beda University, Manila, on a study tour. I believe these are the students here on our right side. Welcome to the Senate, Mr. President, they're here with us,
All right.
listening to our proceedings. With that, I move for a suspension of 1 minute, Senate minute.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senate suspended, the session is suspended for a few Senate minutes. Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we just have a few administrative matters. I understand that the Senate President is now ready to designate the members of the Senate contingent to the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on the National Health Insurance Program in accordance to Republic Act 7875. We request the Senate President's designation, please.
We designate Senator Christopher Bongo as chairman, being the chair of the Committee on Health, and members De La Rosa, Tolentino, Gordon, and Ontiveros.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, with the consent of the body, upon the request of the chairman of the Committee on Trade and Commerce, Senator Coco Pimentel, that the following bills be transferred from the Committee on Trade and Commerce to the Committee on Energy as primary committees. These are Senate Bill number 472, 479, 538, 6, and 638. So the Committee on Trade and Commerce will be secondary committee. I so move.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
And for the information of the body, these are bills related to electric vehicles, e-vehicles. Finally, Mr. President, with the consent of the body, a request of our dear Senator De Lima that she be made as co-author of Senate Bill number 365, an act improving the access of persons with disabilities to public and private facilities. And we also consulted 365 and 570, both chaired by Senator and authored by Senator Binay. We also consulted with her, and she's okay with it, Mr. President.
So recorded.
Thank you, Mr. President. With that, we have no other matters, official matter. Is it ready, the official? Do we have additional reference of business?
They're still
They just
filing it.
filed it. So,
Senator Tolentino.
Just, Mr. President, just for the record, recently this representation filed a resolution relative to a recent circular coming from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas concerning cryptocurrency. Thereafter, Mr. President, news reports emanated that a group of Chinese nationals were arrested in Ortigas Avenue, and the alleged charges would be a cryptocurrency scam. So, Mr. President, this representation is of the honest opinion that this scheme, which has been legitimized supposedly by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, because of that recent event, gives urgency for this august body to act as to the legal tender position vis-a-vis the bitcoins, the online digital currency being used right now by Facebook accounts, by the Telegram, and this representation is of the belief, as I mentioned yesterday, that this might creep on to our OFWs when they send remittances. So I urge this august body to immediately act on the matter relative to the Bangko Central's position of legitimizing it by granting the Union Bank of the Philippines the power to issue cryptocurrency. That's all, Mr. President.
All right.
Mr. President, I
Majority
move
Leader.
that we can make a motion, Mr. President, with the permission of the body, that the manifestation made by the gentleman from Cavite be referred to the Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies so that they can take this up on committee level. And
All right.
invite the
So
stakeholders.
referred.
Mr. President, we are still, there's a colleague of ours who is asking for a suspension for so that we can take up a bit later the additional reference of business.
It's here.
Okay, I move for the additional reference of business.
Secretary will proceed with the additional reference of business.
Bill on first reading, Senate Number 1061, entitled An Act Providing for Remuneration, Benefits, Allowances, and Other Entitlements for Frontline Civil Servants at the Barangay Level, establishing for the purpose a Magna Carta for barangay officials, personnel, and volunteer workers, and for other purposes, introduced by Senator Recto.
Refer to the Committees on Local Government and Finance.
Resolution, PS Resolution Number 139, entitled A Resolution Directing the Senate Committee on Energy to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the short, medium, and long-term plans of the Department of Energy to achieve energy security to mitigate the adverse repercussions of supply shocks on Philippine oil supply and prices following the 14 September 2019 attack on the Saudi Arabian Oil Company, introduced by Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Energy. Majority Leader.
With that, Mr. President, I move that we adjourn session till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 23, 2019.
Any objection? Hearing none, the session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Monday, September 23, 2019.